Everyone at some point experiences trouble in paradise. Everything from relationship problems with girlfriends cheating, divorces, fighting with friends, having work problems, having a toxic work environment, having coworkers that are disrespectful and backstabbing. Are you even having financial problems, living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay bills, trying to figure out a way to get your family to the next level? This video shows you how to ask for help when, as guys, it's difficult for us, even if you don't want to ask for help from other people. This is a video that could help you take the next step so you could help figure out your problems and solve them. So my name is Lionel Guevara. In a period of 6 months, I had a lot of things happen to me. I had 6 family members pass away, 2 aunts, 2 cousins, an uncle, and my brother. And we'll get back to that in a second. Also ended a relationship. Breakups are always emotional. I was also unhealthy for 2 months of that time frame. I was coughing up blood, and my own doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. I also had work problems. I had bosses that would discredit me because I wasn't a doctor, but I was on the management team. And that created a lot of frustration because people are entitled because of their titles, but not because of the skill set and the experience I brought to the table. So that ended up getting me fired from a position. And the day after I got fired, the very next day, my brother committed on Father's Day. Now, this seems like it's a lot, but that was just the beginning. That happened in 2019, and 6 months later, the shutdown happened. And imagine trying to go through all this grief, all this trauma, trying to figure out how to get out of despair was a challenge. And I was on my own because during the pandemic, I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't be physically in contact with people and try to figure out my way through it. Hopefully, this will show you how I got through it, because when I was able to get through this issue, I was able to stand back up on my feet, and going from 0 to about 500 rental units in real estate is my comeback story. And so I just wanted to share some of the things that I went through and how I was able to solve these problems. Now, the first thing that I had to do in that time frame was acknowledge my struggles. As guys, we always say, "Oh, I could handle it. I could do this. It's not a big problem." These are typical things we always say, but it's important to know that you're struggling, and it's okay that you're struggling, but you got to be aware of it in the moment. If you're hyper stressed, when I was overly stressed, I didn't eat a lot. I didn't sleep a lot. I also just had high blood pressure, and I just felt like everything kept stacking on top of me, stacking and stacking and stacking. It's the weight of the world on my shoulders, and it's not a good feeling. It feels like you're drowning. It feels like you can't breathe. But once you're aware of it, you actually can figure out the steps. So it's important to discuss and recognize that you are struggling, you have problems, and then understand it's okay to seek help. But once it's time to seek help, make sure you identify the right person to ask. You gotta find significant people and ask the right person with the right experience that could help you. Explore as many options as possible. This could be your family, your friends, your colleagues, and in some cases, professional help too. But everything comes with a grain of salt. You can't just ask random friends or random family or random colleagues. You got to base it on their skill set and their experience. Look for someone who's very objective and very non-judging, someone who's there to listen and just help out. The only person that could solve your problems is you. So when you're bouncing ideas off someone who's willing to listen and help out, it actually really helps you break down problems step by step. You don't want someone who's going to tell you what to do, but you do want someone that's going to help you be accountable, someone that's going to check in with you. For me, that's my dad. He's a big structure for me, big support structure. So same thing as my mother, my mom. My parents are invaluable into my growth to exceed any of my problems, because I'm able to bounce off ideas to them, and they would tell me what they see in those situations, and then I would make the adjustments as accordingly. Now, the second thing you need to do is, when you're asking for help, is be totally honest, be transparent, be open about the struggles that you're experiencing. And when you do that, it actually allows people to understand your needs better. When you only touch the surface of your problems, the people only understand the surface of your problems. But the deeper you go, the better you explain things, then the more they could see all these little pieces to the puzzle that they could put together. And so that'll actually help step by step. So explain what you're going through and try to separate it if you could. Try to separate it about what you actually observe, the actual cause and effect, things that you're experiencing, and separate what you're thinking about it, because that's your practical side. Then also separate what you're feeling about it, your emotional side. When you get those three things separated, now you can deal with them on an individual basis. It makes it easier to take on task one by one rather than see a full list of everything you got to do altogether. Now, the next thing is once you have a person identified and you're able to be open to them, make sure you choose the right place and the right time. Select an appropriate time and setting to ask for help. You got to make sure you're in a comfortable, private environment, allows for open communication, and so you could talk with no interruptions. One example of picking the wrong place is I had a friend that went through a death in their own family. They were upset that their grandmother passed away, but the location was wrong. We were at a strip club and he was crying at the strip club when we were getting lap dances and side dances. And the bad part about it is the location he chose, which was a strip club. We were out there having a good time, drinking, getting lap dances, whatever, as guys, but that's not the right place inside the strip club. So we took him outside and we had the conversations in the parking lot. It is a funny story looking back at it. It's, bro, we're at the strip club. You shouldn't be crying here. So make sure you know where you're going to go with that. Now, after you're in the conversation, not only do you want to describe the problem, but you actually need to describe what you need. Be clear, be specific about what type of support you need. Do you need someone to just listen to you? Do you need someone to help figure out some problems? Do you need someone to help coordinate certain tasks for you? Do you need someone to just get a financial support if necessary, if you need to borrow money, or if you need to sleep on someone's couches because you're going through a divorce? These things are really important. So as you're talking about the problem, make sure you know what you need and don't be ashamed to ask. If these are good people that you're going to, that you trust, they're not going to guilt trip you. They're not going to make you feel ashamed. They're not going to harass about you. All they can really do is support you in the way that you request. So be okay with that. If you don't paint the picture, it's like playing pin the tail on the donkey. I can be blind and trying to put the tail on the ass, but so give as many details as possible. Now, alongside with all of these factors, it's not a one by one list. It's everything all at one time in terms of the steps, but you got to be open to receiving help. If you talk to someone, you found a place to talk to them, they're supportive, and you made some requests, be open to receiving help. You got to be okay with being, as a guy, not resisting the help that's being offered to you. On the other side, you don't want to be able to shame people for not giving you the full support that you need. Some people are going through their own situations, and it's important to know that they could support you as best as they can at that moment. It's never 100%, but they will give the 100 that they're able to give to you if they really care. So if you ask for help, take whatever they offer, because if you're not accepting the help, you're just considered complaining. Now, if you're making it up front that you just need someone to listen to you, then make it clear that you just need a vent. You need to talk about it. You need to release these frustrations. And that's okay. That's a good thing too. I find it hard to ask for help because it's expectations to have it all together. And I never have it all together. I figure out as it comes to me, step by step. It's like a conveyor belt at a grocery store. You might have all these items, but you could only scan one at a time. So don't try to scan all 20 items at once. It doesn't work that way. Step by step, fix the Legos to your puzzle. Now, when you're talking to people and you're asking for help, you got to also talk about boundaries. It's important to be open and transparent, but you need some boundaries and you need some preferences. So emphasize the importance of setting comfortable limits. Some people feel the need to be self-righteous and tell you how to do things. Establish what you need from people. I can do some things, but I can't do all of those things. I see that all the time, where when people get in a position that they could give advice, they give you advice that can be useful to themselves, but not necessarily useful to your own specific situation. So be careful with that. But a good person that you can rely on is just going to help you figure out exactly what you need. Not too much, not too little, but help you figure it out and support you where they can, with what time they can. And it's important to be patient with yourself. You know, being patient with yourself is probably the most important thing, I think, after awareness, because we're problem solvers. We want it done immediately. And life just doesn't work that way. You can't microwave your problems so they can be solved correctly. It takes time. There's a lot of steps involved. There's a lot of emotional components, psychological components, and you have to do it step by step. In today's world, everyone wants immediate satisfaction, just like social media, immediate solution. But it's not the solution that's most important. It's figuring out the process for you to be able to solve your problems. Once you're able to solve your problems with this consistent system, then you can solve any problem that comes your way, and you'll be okay. The last thing is also explore other support resources. You want people that you can trust on. So if it's something like a financial problem, then you should go to someone or talk to people who are financially savvy. If you're having relationship problems, I talk to someone who's been married 30 years or been with the same person for an extended period of time. They've gone through it all. They've gone through it together with their spouse, and they've never given up on each other. So it's important to do those things. Sharing leads to progress, and the outcome is that sharing actually builds more confidence. When you're asking for help, you actually build more confidence in it because you're sharing your story. When you share your story, you gain more power over the situation. And sharing your story actually helps other people become inspired by your ability to give. You're giving of yourself. You're giving away the problems, offering it up so you could solve them. Gaining confidence is the biggest component that you got to do in terms of dealing with problems. And asking for help is one of those tools. So if you want to hear more about building confidence, take a look at this very next video.